185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast.
Questions and answers.
Introducing first, the challenger, fighting out of the hard corner. The belt is on their mind, and Dan Sant is running out of time. Hailing from the greatest planet in the Milky Way, it is the #1 contender in the world!
Matt Smith.
And his opponent, fighting out of the core corner, from parts unknown, weight unknown. Reason he didn't pick Minor Threat in the Straight Edge Super 7, unknown. It is the reigning, defending, undisputed 185 Miles South trivia champion of the world, Daniel, these questions are too easy, Sant!
All right, before our undefeated champion, Dan Sant, gives him a proper ass whooping in trivia, Matt Smith, jump in and let us know what's happening with the Matt Summers benefit.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Honored to be on here. So the day before Thanksgiving, or 2 days before Thanksgiving, Matt Summers was in a bicycle crash riding home in Philadelphia, and he landed on his head and was not wearing a helmet. So the craziest part is he actually, we found out after he crashed, he managed to get himself home, but collapsed in front of his building. And one of his neighbors found him and called 911, and he was rushed to the hospital where they performed emergency surgery to remove 40% of his skull to relieve the pressure from bleeding on the brain. He was in a coma for 5 days. The craziest part is if he hadn't collapsed in front of the building and he made it into his apartment, he would have gone to bed and died. I mean, it's exactly how Stiv Bators died. A lot of people don't realize when they have a head injury that they're bleeding on the brain. So he's incredibly fortunate that he collapsed where he did and was found, and that they were able to do the procedure quickly. So he is recovering. He's got another surgery coming up in February, and he's got a long road to recovery. So there's a GoFundMe. That information is on the Shark Attack Instagram page, Shark Attack 12FU. And we are throwing a benefit show for him in Philadelphia, Saturday, February 4th at Union Transfer, Cold World, Floor Punch, Restraining Order, Shark Attack with Dave from Tear It Up and Planet on a Chain is singing for Summers, Chemical Fix, Raw Brigade, Violent Minds, and Sunstroke. So it is stacked top to bottom. It's going to be a rager. There is tickets still available. It might sell out, so don't wait on it. If you think you might want to go, get a ticket. There may be some at the door. We'll, keep updating everyone as we get closer to the date. But there is no guest list. So if you forget to get a ticket, do not text me the day of, because there's no guest list. Everyone pays to get in. So yeah, that's the show. And I hope you guys can make it. If you can't make it, if you live far away and Summers has impacted your life in any way, think about donating to the GoFundMe. We really appreciate it. He's probably going to be out of work for a good while. He's got a lot of physical therapy he's got to do once he gets the skull put back into his head. So he's gonna need a lot of support.
Yeah, everyone handle business, support that, and follow that Shark Attack account for updates. And later in this episode, we are going to do a side A, side B on Shark Attack 7-inch. You know what's up. And let's jump right into trivia. Matt, in what may be the greatest song of Dan Sant's career? On the second song off the Over My Dead Body, No Runner 7-inch, the best dressed man on the pod proclaims he will be where?
Oh no. Man. He will be. I have no fucking idea.
You're setting up Dan for possibly the easiest steal in the history of trivia.
I'm going to let him go for the steal, and I'm going to try and catch up on some other trivia. So, what is it? Go for it, Dan.
Dan, in what may be the greatest song of Dan Sant's career? On the second song off the Over My Dead Body, No Runner 7-inch, the best dressed man on the pod proclaims he will be where?
Okay. There.
Correct. A point to Dan.
You almost broke my brain by making it seem like it was way crazier.
It's not easy to write these questions, people. So don't give me shit when there's not one on every episode. All right. Okay, we go to Dan for your first question. Dan, the band Rain on the Parade got their name from a song by which 80s SoCal hardcore band?
Rain on the Parade. Oh. I've never known that.
Might be setting up for the second easiest steal in the history of trivia.
So you said SoCal?
Correct. The band Rain on the Parade got their name from a song by which 80s SoCal hardcore band?
Well, it's quite poetic, so I'm going to say no for an answer.
We go to Matt for the possible steal. Matt, the band Rain on the Parade got their name from a song by which 80s SoCal hardcore band?
That would be Half Off.
A point to Matt. All
Yes.
right. Okay.
Now I don't feel so bad about not knowing Dan's.
You should feel bad. You should feel bad. I want to say right now, get well, Matt Summers. R.I.P. Matt Smith.
That's right. You guys should both feel terrible, but that's okay. We're going to Matt for round number 2. Everyone deserves a second chance, people. You got to learn to forgive. Okay, Matt, there's a theoretical punk band named the Angry Sandwiches that featured Johnny, PB&J, Sammy, Turkey and Swiss, Jake Pastrami, and Mike BLT. While on vacation, the singer Jake Pastrami dies in a jet skiing accident. Which member of the band Half Off has what it takes to slide in and replace him?
Oh, I know this.
What? What member of Half Off has what it takes to slide in? Billy Rubin.
Yes.
A point?
I got it now.
Point to Matt.
Yes.
Right.
That was a good question.
Billy Rubin is ready to slide in.
I'm giving applause on that one.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan, for that. A point to Zack. And we go to Dan for round number 2. Dan, true or false? On the Body Bag 7-inch, Rain on the Parade has a song called 3 Chords, and the verse of that song contains 3 chords.
Now, I know that there's a song 3 chords, but I don't know if the verse contains 3 chords or 4 chords. Or 1. Who knows? I'm going to say true.
We go to Matt for another steal. Now, Matt, true or false? On the Body Bag 7-inch, Rain on the Parade has a song called 3 Chords, and the verse of that song contains 3 chords.
False. I believe it contains 4 chords.
I thought it was 4. Ben corrected me, said 5, and he is correct.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Awesome. Because it goes dun, 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 but then it goes dun, 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 or something. It does another one.
I'm suing Ronnie Little.
Yeah, it does have 5 chords.
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, and E.
That's why Ben gets paid the big bucks. Yep. It is a complicated chord structure, A, B, C, D, and E. So shout out to Rain on the Parade. Seriously, though, one of my favorite hardcore 7-inches of the second half of the 90s. Okay,
Thank
Matt,
you.
we go back to you. Matt, on the insert of the debut Suicidal Tendencies LP, what percentage of members are wearing, on the insert for the debut Suicidal Tendencies LP, what percentage of members are wearing a type of headwear?
I got to say 100% because they're all wearing either do-rags or hats flipped up in the front or a combination of both.
A noble attempt, but we go to Dan for a potential steal. Dan, on the insert of the debut Suicidal Tendencies LP, what percentage of members are wearing a type of headwear?
Oh, what percentage? So it's not even like guessing how many are doing it. I'm gonna say
Correct.
50%. 50%.
No points this round. It is 75% of the members.
Uh,
I don't know how I didn't know that.
well,
Three
how
out
does
of
the
four.
headwear stay on when they're hanging upside down?
That's the front cover, not the insert.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, Dan, you got a chance to come back. We're only on round number 3. This question is for you. On the Caroline version of Youth of Today's We're Not in This Alone LP, singer Ray Cappo is wearing what band's shirt in the photos on both the front and the back covers?
Ooh.
Come on.
There will be no confusion about if it's the front or the back cover or the insert this time. I was very specific.
You said front and back cover, right?
Correct. Both the front and the back. What is Ray Cappo wearing? What band?
Well, he is representing the band that was formerly known as Crippled Youth, but is now known as Bold.
Shout out to Dan and the Google search engine. A point to Dan.
Oh, get out of here.
That was a nice little pause. Confusing pause for a minute and then some serious confidence with that answer.
Well, no. First and foremost, I have to sit here and think after I just flubbed the insert versus the cover.
Fair. Okay, Matt, we go to you for round number 4. Which came first? Mind Force's modern classic Excalibur or the Black Bean Crunch Wrap Supreme at Taco Bell?
The Black Bean Taco Supreme.
We go to Dan for the potential steal. Dan, which came first? Mind Force's modern classic Excalibur or the Black Bean Crunch Wrap Supreme at Taco Bell?
Well, it's definitely Excalibur because the Crunchwrap Supreme is with the Black Beans is only within the last year, right?
Correct and then incorrect. Excalibur comes out in 2018 and the Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme comes out in 2019.
But not on the menu.
Correct.
Right.
On the menu.
Oh, shit. All right.
Okay.
Respect, T-Bell. I'm sorry for savaging you.
All good. That's a point to Dan. And Ben, are you ready?
Oh, God. God.
Let's see here.
Get that thing queued up.
Uh-oh.
All right. Dan, you have 5 seconds to say Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme 6 times. Ben will count you down.
1, 2, 3, slam.
Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme.
No,
Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme.
I don't know why my alarm is so quiet. I have the volume turned all the way up, but you only got 2 in before it went off. So sorry,
All
you
right.
didn't need to make it.
Now,
Micro
you-
Machines come in collections of 5. Micro Machines come in collections of 5.
You would have had 4, but you said Supreme a couple times.
I know.
It's all good, dude. This is hard. Matt, we go to you for the potential steal. You have 5 seconds to say Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme 6 times, and Ben will count you in.
1, 2, 3, slam.
Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. Fuck it.
Time's up.
No points. No points. We're whiffing on both the Suicidal Tendencies LP and the Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. The Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. The Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. The Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme.
You can't
Good
do it
God,
either.
man. It's terrible. Okay, Matt, we go to you for your next question. This is round number 5. Matt, what is the best song by Youth of Today?
I'm trying to think what you would think is the best song by Youth of Today.
Well, we're just dealing in facts here. This is trivia.
Me, You, Youth Crew.
We go to Dan for the potential steal. Dan, what is the best song by Youth of Today?
Jesus Christ. What is the best song by you? Is there something in the question? Best?
No, it's just a fact, dude. There's no trick here. Just what is the best song by Youth of Today?
Stabbed in the Back.
A point to Dan.
What? Yeah.
The champ does not miss. The champ does not miss. And Dan, we
This
go
is
back
rigged.
to you for round number 5. Dan, what is the best song by Agnostic Front?
Blind Justice into Last Warning.
A point to the champ.
Oh my
Good
God.
God. He does not miss. What the fuck? Wow. Okay. This is some shit.
Wait, it's not Polly the beer drinking dog?
That's up there, top 10, but not number 1. Okay. Holy shit. Dan is on a roll. It might be the day he gets that 25 to life right. Who knows? But we got one more round before we get there. Shit. Okay, Matt, the mascot for the hardcore band Drain depicts what animal?
A shark.
A point
With
to
a
Matt.
boy in the mouth.
A point to Matt. Yeah. Good job. Good job. And I think it has a name, which I'm whiffing on. Okay, Dan, final question before we get to the come down. What New York hardcore band had the song Nothing But a Beatdown and appears on the 185 Mile South intro?
Bulldoze.
A point to the champ. All right. Let's go to Benjamin for the subtotals.
All right. So Dan has 6 points and Matt has 4 points.
All right. Let's do this.
What? What? Okay.
Matt, you have 4 points. How many would you like to wager?
I guess I'm going to have to go 3 if I want to have any chance. So I'll wager 3.
Yeah, good at math. I appreciate that. And Dan, how many points do you want to wager?
4.
All right. Let's see here. Matt, this one is for you.
Couple more times, please.
You got it. 3 times in a row. Here we go.
I actually know what he says the second line.
Same.
With a smile on my face. The first line, something about being in detention. I'm stuck in detention with a smile on my face. Final answer.
Incorrect. He says, I do it without mercy, with a smile on my face. Everyone come up front, sing along.
It sounds so much more like vengeance than the word mercy.
Well, that's a Rick the Life move.
Yeah.
It sounds like something, and you're going to have to decipher it by buying the record and reading the lyric sheet. It's actually the oldest trick in the book. You can't just have a dub tape. Okay, Dan, let's go to you. The orange button. Here we go.
What the fuck? He's not even doing his Roger ripoff, but it is still unbelievably unlistenable. Can I hear it 4 times in a row, please?
You may, but good God, man, do your homework. Like, you should know all the lyrics to this song. Here we go. All right, champ.
I don't know. It's like I'm coming up beside ya. I'm gonna take a shit. I don't know.
No. He says, in these times of sellouts and money catching eyes, dude, a part of keeping it real. I gave you the softball. Here we go. Everyone come up front and sing along.
All right, it's the first line is in these times of sellouts. I heard it, but the second line, no.
And money catching eyes. All right, Ben, we go to you for the totals.
Yeah, so Dan had 6 points. He wagered 4. He did not identify the lyrics of the 25 to Life song, which is a huge shock. Most people can do that. So 6 minus 4 is 2. Dan ends with 2 points. Matt had 4 points. He wagered 3. He was also shockingly unable to identify the 25 to Life lyrics. 4 minus 3 is 1. Matt ends with 1 point. So Dan wins the game.
Reigning champ.
The reigning champion.
Once again, congratulations, Dan.
Hey, haters be damned.
Way to go, dude.
What's up, everyone? We are back and talking hardcore. Helping out. You know him. You love him. It is the best dressed man on the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Now let me kick a little something about this lady named Boo. Haven't you heard of the things Miss Boo is capable to do?
Also helping out. 6'2". What you gonna do? It is the mighty, mighty Posy Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's happening?
And rounding us out, the nicest man in hardcore. It is Andy Diehard. What's up, Andy?
Yo, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing good. Okay. We are now in the new year. It is hard to get used to saying 2023 here in January, but we're going to do our best. And one thing I wanted to dive in here before we get into talking some new music is just generally talking about what we want to see in the year 2023. So the 2023 wish list. Dan, you got something good?
I really want, and I think it's happening, High Viz to come to America. I think, well, that is going to be so sick. I also want dickheads to stop punching the people in the front of the crowd or kicking them or just swiping at them and all of that. I want that just to go the way of the dodo instead of the way of the dildo, like all those fucking dickheads are kicking kids that are up front supporting the band. I would love that to end, be a 2022 and back thing and not go forward. You know, those are a couple that I've got.
That's a good one, Dan. I think I talked that on one pod. It's just totally silly behavior. And it kind of fucks up one of the best parts of hardcore, which is packing up front and singing along. And it's kind of ranking it for the bands, right? I mean, maybe this year, like some front man will be like, dude, why are you fucking up the kids in the front row that are like supporting my band? What's going on here?
Yeah, or where is there anywhere for any stage diver to land now? Because everyone's running for their fucking lives because some fucking tryhard who's friends with the band want to be tough and like just take cheap shots on people's skulls. I hate it.
What about when the dudes in the front are the gnarliest dudes in the room and someone gets stabbed?
I mean, it would go a long way to show that the kids are not gonna take it anymore.
Dan's 2023 wish list. So one of those people to get stabbed so the rest take notice.
I know.
Yeah.
And then next year we could be like, for my 2024 wish list, I really hope that like that front row stops stabbing people who are just trying to stage dive, man. They just want to dive, man. Stop stabbing them. What's going on here? Dan, we'll come back to you. But one thing I was thinking about that I would love to see for the year is Drain is hopefully going to put out their LP this year on Epitaph. Turnstile is like the biggest thing in the world, or at least our world, right? I think the frontman of Drain has like the most infectious personality, and he's just straight up the best frontman. Like to be in the room and watch Drain play, like you're stoked. I think Chris has said before, like when you see Drain, like the singer's the most stoked guy in the room. And I would love to see some of that Turnstile rub off on Drain. I think that they are the one band that could really maybe make that jump, possibly, just because so infectious, and like to see him is to love him, And so I want that Turnstile Drain tour. That's one of the things on my wish list. Don't know if we'll get it, but something I'd like to see. And then also Bay related, I think it is coming this year. That Tsunami full length. We got the teaser last year. I'm ready for the whole thing. I want to get beat down in my living room when I drop that needle on the turntable. I'm ready for it. Any takes on those, Dan?
I love the sentiment. I think Drain is too crazy to get over musically with the Turnstile crew, the newer fans, unless they're going into the back catalog and they're not just doing Glow On. They're like going deeper and getting into all the stuff. But you can't go like, hey, to Drain. It's too wild and it's too crazy, and there's and I think that's what happens with a lot of the groove that's Turnstile has, that those kids tap into.
Well, shoot me down right away, Chris. What's your take on my dream tour?
I like it. I someone needs to stab up Dan because I like it. The reason why I like it, I agree that Drain is a lot more thrashy and like a lot of YOLO in there. But I think the vibes, there's certainly a vibe that Turnstile cultivates, and the vibe that Drain cultivates isn't exactly the same, but they're both vibes of people that are there to have fun. And I think that there's a Venn diagram that works. I think it'd be sick.
I think they're both tapping into like feel good vibes, right? Be yourself. Let's have fun. We're all in this together. Let's have some fun vibes. And that's why I think it works.
Hell yeah. Throw Andrew WK on that.
Dude, he can open. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Andrew WK, the curtain jerker on the Turnstile Drain tour. Chris, you got a couple?
Yeah, I got a few. I'll just hit them real quick. I think building on Dan's high vis coming to the US wish list. I'd like to see Syndrome 81 come back. I know they've been here before, but it was before I was really into them. So I'd like to see them come out west and play some shows, maybe with the Chisel. That'd be a fun one.
Yeah.
I would also like to see, we've talked a lot about Denial of Life. We've talked a lot about Take Offense. I think it would be so sick if those bands toured together. Like that'd be such a sick vibe.
It's a good one. That's a good one.
And then two others real quick. One, we've talked a little bit about in the group chat about this, but I don't know if we've talked about this band on the pod yet, but Meantime from Winnipeg is like one of the best bands doing like kind of youth crew style hardcore right now. Particularly with Headcount breaking up, they're leaving a bit of a vacuum. And I think meantime, they're recording an LP right now, and I know it's going to be awesome. For those that grew up on that youth crew revival stuff that we all grew up on in the late 90s and again in the mid aughts, like this is, in my opinion, like the band that can fill that vibe. They did a couple demos that were solid, but not like spectacular, not amazing. And then they dropped a single last year that was just phenomenal, like one really great hardcore song. But they did kind of a weird thing where they recorded a cover of a Canadian rock band. And so like from a branding perspective, it's just kind of confusing if you're like, you're listening to their two new songs and one is just like an incredible like melodic youth crew song in the vein of like a band like In My Eyes. And then the other sounds like, I don't know, Gob or something. Maybe a little bit, like it kind of sounds pop punkish because they're hardcore kids doing it, but it's like a straight up like Canadian rock band. So like it's cool and it's fun and I get why they did it, but it's also like from a branding or a recognizability or like, it's a little bit confusing, and I could see people being like, okay, what is this band about? Like really?
Yeah, especially for a genre where you want it to be super recognizable, right? Like think about all the youth crew records we bought in the late 90s just because it looked youth crew.
Yeah, for sure. But they're in the studio right now. They're recording an LP, and I think I have this hunch that it's going to be amazing. And so my wish list, like I don't even wish that this record is going to be amazing because I have faith that it's going to be incredible. My wish is that when it comes out, this band's from Winnipeg, which is like it's like north of North Dakota, right? So it's like in the middle of Canada, nowhere. And like Figure 4 and Comeback Kid were able to break out of Winnipeg, but they had like, Face Down and, Victory Records to help them do it. So my wish is that when this record comes out, like people don't sleep on it, it gets some pop.
Yeah, and they also had Jesus on their side, Chris. Let's not forget about that.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe that meantime LP smashes and they do a tour with Spark. That'd be sick.
Hell yeah, that'd be a great tour. I'd go. And then the last thing I want to call out, my number one wish list for this year is I hope that the mainstream record industry fucks off out of the vinyl space. Like the trend of, pressing all these old, like, whoever, crappy pop bands or old rock bands or, whatever, like repressing all this stuff because it's hot right now is just like screwing the hardcore scene that has always been here and supporting vinyl and buying it. And, as we just got to wait forever now because of all this stuff, as well as like, supply chain and stuff like that. But yeah, that's my wish, is for it to stop being profitable for the major labels. And so they give up on it again. And, then you can get a record in, maybe 6 months instead of 2 years or whatever it takes now.
I want a good beer to sponsor Integrity. So maybe Mickey's comes in and we get like that Integrity logo with like a Hornet mashup instead of a PBR mashup, something like that. Andy, any wish list items for this year?
Yeah. First off, Chris, thanks for clearing that up on the meantime. I've been checking that out because you mentioned it, and that cover was throwing me big time, dude. I had to go back and make sure I was listening to the same band. So, yeah, the cover I didn't like so much, but all the rest was awesome. So looking forward to that LP. As far as like, I hope that I guess Trapped Under Ice is playing shows again. I like to be able to see them. I want End It to come out to California. Maybe they have, I don't know, and I missed it, but I really want to see them. I kind of like how the fests are going in the United States right now. Kind of touch on Dan's thing about the crowd killing and even the drain thing. The couple of fests I went to this summer, or even the For the Children. And it's like there's so many kids, new kids in the scene mimicking what they see people do. So that's why the crowd killing is like super lame. I mean, Chris was there at the terror show, seeing that girl kind of try to crowd kill from the stage, and like looked pretty silly. And I think that with the drain thing though, man, if you get enough new kids going to a show and just seeing how crazy they are, they might not be into the music right away, but their live show at all these fests. I just saw the FYA fest of their set, and it was crazy, man. Every single person in the building had a beach ball and a boogie board, and just like I feel like any kid that goes to that show is going to be like, "This is my new favorite band," and be psyched on it. So I hope those fests keep getting bigger and more kids go, because it's just kind of a cool gateway into hardcore for kids. So as far as like, I hope to see a new Change record. I know Chris is on here, but I know Chris said they might be recording soon. Downpresser going to record a new record. Maybe Todd Jones will do a new band with Dan singing. That's also on my wish list. So, but that's it. That's my wish list. Oh, and hopefully the Ill Communication LP drops this year. So we'll see though.
If the Ill Communication LP doesn't come out this year, that's going to be insane, right? When did it go to the plant, Andy?
It'll be here. It's coming out in February, but okay. It just seems like it's taking forever. So it is taking forever, but it's coming out.
Agreed. I love the Jones one. That's every hardcore singer's dream, right? I hope that Todd Jones writes an LP for me to sing on.
Yeah. I want to hear Dan singing on that LP.
Hell yeah. Yeah, another LP or maybe a 12-inch EP I'd like this year is some more Never Ending Game songs. One of my favorite bands in hardcore. And that LP is now a few years old. They put out the 7-inch in 2021, as well as like a couple good comp songs. But I believe that 2022 was no new Never Ending Game songs. So hopefully 2023 we get some of that. Dan, did you have anything else to touch on?
Yeah, I meant no disrespect to Drain at all. I'm just thinking Drain is just too wild for the average Joe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you think that if you go to Turnstile and Drain plays, you're going to start socking up the front row from the stage.
No.
I think you're right though, Dan. Musically, Drain is a little bit more harder to get for a new kid.
Yeah,
but I think if they saw their show, they might be like, "Oh, I'm going to check this out more just from their live,
sure.
the wildness."
Yeah, I definitely don't. I don't think that someone like, okay, let's say that someone loves Turnstile Glow On. I don't think hand them a Drain CD. I don't think that works at all. But I do think back to back in the same room, it is in a way the same vibe, right? Like I said before, is be yourself. Let's get buck and have fun together.
I wonder how much of Turnstile is great live, but I wonder if there's any like sliver of like I know there was a time where Sick of It All would take these bands out on tour, and then those bands would get bigger than Sick of It All, and then they wouldn't return the favor because they didn't want to get blown off the stage by the greatest live band ever. So I wonder if there's any fear of they might, I don't know if they're going to show us up, but like they're going to be up there.
Yeah, Morrissey was off tour, didn't he? Like, because I think Albert was touring with Tiger Army, and like they were like doing too well as an opener for Morrissey, and Morrissey's just like hack them. Dan, sorry. Go on.
I would hope that they, a band like Turnstile would be like, we welcome that challenge, and we hope that they try to blow us off the stage because we're gonna just step up our game even more.
Hell yeah.
Turnstile's no slouch. They're really good live. I'd say I echo a little bit of what Chris was saying, but I just want all the Froy to come bienvenue to America. All those records, the thing that makes them so good is that there's a bit of mystery there. it's not the only thing that makes them good, but it's kind of unique. But I just, Reeks came last year and it was fucking sick. Like I would love that. And I just want to continue what we do to an extent where on our group chats and everything, hey, have you checked this out? Blah, blah, blah. All this sharing of music because, how else are we going to... There's so much coming out now that is like... It's a deluge constantly. So it feels a bit transient, like that you get into something and then something else pops up and you move on to that. And a lot of the time, because there's so much stuff, don't go back to things. But I really just love that part of what the evolution of being maybe an older hardcore kid has become, is that there's like just a lot of sharing and sharing opinions on. I mean, we do this often on the pod where we'll share our opinions on new stuff, but we do it tenfold in our private lives, and I really value that. So I just want more of that in 2023.
Well, that's because we keep the main feed podcast positive, right? In the group chat, we actually say when stuff sucks.
Yeah, that's true. For the, well, usually the thing that, occasionally something comes along that's awful, but for the most part, the worst insult is like, it's whatever. It doesn't grab me, and that's like, that's probably as negative as we get, unless something really rears its ugly head, and then we're like, oh fuck.
Well, that's because there's so much stuff that comes out. I only want to talk about stuff that I like. So that's the stuff that we put on the pod that we talk about, and we should just say when we're talking about the sharing, that is the responsibility of you guys listening, the audience, because probably 50% or more of the stuff we talk about for these newer records comes from you guys, you guys emailing us or DMing us through the Instagram or the Twitter. You guys got to let us know what's going on. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. So get in touch. 50% probably comes from you, 40% comes from Chris, and 10% comes from the rest of us together. So, yep. Okay, anyone want to speak on anything else in the section, or should we move on to talking some music?
Let's do it.
All right, right on. Yeah, real quick, Andy, I appreciate you saying like it's now that stuff has become a thing, like the punching from the stage, which is like, I don't know, it's so silly. And yeah, it's getting emulated over and over because of like the video culture of so many videos, being filmed of hardcore. And so our eyes just get drawn to like the most extreme things when we're watching short clips of things. And yeah, it sucks in my opinion. And I know that like this has turned into like a boomer thing to talk about, right? Like, old people complaining about crowd killing or whatever, but it's like we all have different like aspects of hardcore that we latch on to the most, and one of the ones that I like the most is being up front and singing along. And I'm not trying to get socked by some fucking new jack. You know what I mean? Like, and really there's nothing that screams out, I discovered hardcore by watching videos during the pandemic, than that behavior. So, if you do that, do better, dude. Wise up. It's silly behavior. But right on. Okay.
What one more 2023 thing. Sink or Swim 20th anniversary OMDB LP coming very soon.
With the show?
Yeah.
No show. No show, just a record.
Ooh.
Yeah,
That's
also
for the wish. That's for the wish list.
Wish list.
Record re-release show.
Make it happen.
Dan, also In Control, Truth Hurts 20 year. We are going to talk the Out of Trust self-titled LP. came out on Find Away Records this month, January 13th. Let's see, January 13th, 2023.
Friday
Chris.
the 13th.
Friday the 13th, spooky. We all survived it. It's been a couple weeks. Chris, have you gotten a chance to sink your teeth into this LP yet?
Yeah, it's cool. I dig it. It's not a style that I typically listen to like a ton anymore, but it's certainly a style of punk that was very big for me in my formative years and stuff that I'll still revisit. So it certainly gave me a very nostalgic feel for the early 90s pop punk. I think the moniker pop punk has negative connotations because of the quote unquote fart punk stuff that got big. But like the stuff that was like this, or that this reminds me of, was awesome and still is awesome. And I think this record specifically, I think, sits somewhere between like, certainly some like Gorilla Biscuits, or like a more melodic hardcore, but like if you mix some of that with maybe like a Lagwagon and then some elements of like a Jawbreaker, so somewhere within that triangle. Some of the songs are more driving, some of them are a little bit more anthem-y, some are a little bit more soulful. But it's a cool record. I think the opening track, Lifer, is kind of comes out of the gates really driving anthem, short and sweet. They don't beat around the bush. There's some good hooks, but they don't overstay their welcome. They hit them like just about the right, it's just perfection in I guess how long they sink into those hooks. I loved the Cure reference in Pushpin Tattoo, and let's see, Axe Hole. I love is just like a anti-MAGA banger song about people who think they're patriots, but they're really just useful idiots who are like tools for the people ruining this country. But yeah, it's cool. I dug it.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like if like the later Dagnassi catalog met up with like the No Use for a Name catalog and like that recording, like the 90s Ryan Green esque recordings. I think Lifer is a great starter song. It's like that solid, slow, fast, very catchy. The singer can really hit some notes when he wants to, and he does some pretty great things on that Pushpin Tattoo song. Shows off his range really well, and I think that like the majority of the record, he's doing like more of a punk voice and doesn't just open up like that. I think that maybe if he leaned into like that Pushpin Tattoo voice, that'd be kind of cool to just hear him do his like voice without like a snarl sometimes, like more spread out across the record. I really do like the lead on My Own, and then the song Great is probably my favorite song. It's kind of tucked towards the end of the record, and at the end of this LP, there's a lot of songs that they re-recorded off their previous material, which is all available on their Bandcamp. So, I guess that would be like one of my only bigger complaints is like, I think that Great it's my favorite song, and then it's buried in a bunch of like the re-recordings. So when I've been listening to this on vinyl, it's like, I've been trying to drop the needle to grab that song. And, yeah, that's that. Andy, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's great, man. Joe's the homie. I kind of got the vibes that if it was like, I know that they know the Good Riddance dudes, but if like Good Riddance was from Oxnard, that's the vibe of the whole record that I got, or the sound. I like the whoa parts, and like some of the dueling vocals, and I guess Max sang some of those. I just found out. I just got my record yesterday, so but I've been listening to it. I feel like the lyrics are cool because it's like they're old dudes, and he's like singing about like being at work on the song Out of Trust. He's just like, yo, work sucks. I'm pissed off at my boss, but I'm going to go to the show and hang out with my girl and like the homies, and it's going to be fun. And like, I just felt like the lyrics are genuine and like, honest. He's not just singing about stuff that like 20-year-olds want to hear. So I thought that was cool. Yeah, Great is definitely my favorite song. That chorus is super catchy. I think that's a hit. I like this record. It's cool. It takes me back to like when me and my buddies were snowboarding and skateboarding and watching videos all day. This could have been on any of those. And so if anyone's into that, the Epitaph, Fat Records kind of stuff, like I think it's gonna be right up your alley.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Dan, what's your take on this?
I think this record sounds really great. I think the production matches the style. That definitely puts it in, like as Andy said, like in that vein of like when skate and snow stuff was really aligned with this kind of music. But I mean, that makes sense. It's like from a surf town, and it's the lineage of nardcore, you know? I think the guitars sound amazing. I think they're played awesome. I think the leads are really technical and really talented, you know? And I do think there is some Dag Nasty in here. As much as there is a love for like 90s, I won't say pop punk, you know, more like 90s driving punk. And I feel like you, Zach, that I think the singer's voice is the best on that Pushpin Tattoo. I think it's really like can go that way of being a California-ish Lifetime, because the song is a bit more sensitive than some of the other songs on the LP, and I think that's a really good lane. I think they've really uncovered something on that song. Lifer also is another favorite, and like you say, I like the way the song Great like starts and then yeah, it's super catchy. But I think that this is something that you can tell the people behind this like have so much passion to do this. Like it's very Lifer is the perfect like saying for it, because this is people that, you know, don't just want to do it, they like have to do it. Like it's in their blood, so they really want to do this. And you know, I think if you like melodic punk, this is right up your alley.
Yeah, super sick too, because you know, episode 1, the legend Joe Rivas, this is actually the first time he's ever been on LP. So, you know, he's been playing in punk bands since like the mid to late 80s. And yeah, it's got to feel so good to have that record, because I've done a handful of LPs, and every single time I get one, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. You know, like that little kid in me like never goes away, you know, of the accomplishment of having a 12-inch with my music on it. And so, you know, congrats to Joe and Forrest and the whole gang for doing this, you know, super sick. Okay, let's move on to, let's see what I got here. Dan, we're going to go back almost a year briefly. This band made your Super 7 2022 list. The band is called Lexan. They did a demo in February of 2022 that kind of flew under the radar, so we just wanted to touch on it real briefly, get it on another playlist, so hopefully you guys check it out. And this is a good time to say 185milessouth.com. There is a playlist link at the top of the page. Click that and check out the playlist. It's all the music that we talk about on the episode, because that's what this is all about, is spreading the love of punk and hardcore. And yeah, Dan, this demo was something really special to you, so speak on it, please.
Yeah, I love when hardcore is, you can hear the punk, but it's still hardcore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love where things are tinged with the other genres that we love so much, but it's still delivered in a hardcore format. And this band is so good. The recording is gritty and a little bit noisy, The vocals are like that also, and it comes out the gate with the song Lexan Deluxe. Lexan, I believe, is a place in Ohio where this band is from, and they're named after their town. From what I've garnered looking at things on Bandcamp, but I could be wrong. So if anyone's out there that knows better, like, they can put us straight. But there's a little bit of, like, you know, for lack of a better term, like straightforward punk. There's a little bit of oi in there, but it's like blazing hardcore. Now, if this demo was side A and side B, like, the first two songs are really good, but the second two songs are really great. Union Hoax and Man-Made Ultra. Those are songs 3 and 4 on this demo, and they're so fucking good. Like, they will be in your head, like, afterwards, but they're also going to make you, like, stomp all around your room while listening to it. So I really dug this demo, and I only discovered it late in the year of 2022, so that's why we, you know, think it might be good to turn people onto this, even if it, you know, came out a while back, because it's really fucking good. And if you haven't heard it, check it out. And I know there's lots of people out there that do listen to these recommendations and then always hit us back with, like, oh shit, thanks for turning me on to this. I think this is going to be another one of those things where they're like, oh yeah, this rips. I fucking love it.
Yeah, I love this. It's like very street punky in the best ways, right? It's got that stiff right hand for the hi-hat. The guitars, there's subtle melody. There's some, like, nice little guitar hooks in there. And it's short, right? All the songs, like a $1:30, $1:40, you know, maybe 2 minutes. So it's like this demo is so in and out. It's like great in almost every way, but God damn, I need another year being positive. I'm sorry for saying this, but, like, the distortion on vocals for the last, like, year or two have been driving me fucking crazy. That's what holds this demo back, in my opinion. Like, it could be so great. It's like everything is there, but, like, the vocals are hidden behind this, like, distortion that just completely kills it for me. I still enjoy listening to this. I think there's great tracks, and I agree with Dan. Like, the back half of this is, like, even better than the front half. But, like, I just want to hear this dude sing. Like, it doesn't even matter what your voice is like. I just want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear a voice, like, hidden behind distortion. I hate it. I'm so sick of it. We should have talked about this in our hopes for 2023, because, like, there's two things.
No distortion.
Dude, Indian vocal distortion, get rid of it. I hate it. And then also, like, that trope of, like, a hardcore song ending and there's, like, an oldie that comes on after, or, like, any sort of chill song, like a reggae song, you know, any sort of, like, nice pop song. Like, I hate that trope so much. And it sucks because, like, literally all of my favorite bands do it. Right?
So, so for 2023, no vocal distortion, and for 2023, no social distortion.
But really, like, that trope is, like, so played. I don't know where it came from. I think it's, like, the first thing I can trace it back to is, like, that Trapped Under Ice song when it ends and it, like, goes to the Welcome to Baltimore, which really works. Yeah. But, like, dude, it's on everything. And, like, it's almost like to a band. Like, if you do that, you love your band. Like, all my favorite bands do it. But, like, stop it. I don't want it anymore. Like, I hate it. But that's just me. I'm an idiot. So it is what it is. Chris, what's your take on this?
This rips. It missed my radar until Dan talked about him on the Super 7. So when he brought it up, I was like, oh, cool. I'm excited to check it out. And when I did, I really liked it. It's, Ohio boot hardcore. It really reminds me a lot of, like, a less artsy, dirtier, fucked up, but with appropriately short songs around, like, 2 minutes or less. So, like, if you love fucked up, but wish they weren't so artsy, wish they weren't so clean and wish they didn't have like 8-minute songs. This is like exactly in your lane, which, yeah, I love it. I agree with Zach. I do wish the vocals weren't distorted, but it doesn't ruin it for me. I do agree that the first song's probably the weakest. Although it is also awesome, but I feel like every song you're listening to is better than the last almost. Like when I get to the second song, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite song. And then, I don't have the song list in front of me, but then Union Hoax comes in and that is, Plastic Echo Chamber is the second. And like the opening riff on that is so boot. And then like the next riff goes like less rock and roll and more kind of dangly earring hardcore. So it's like the first riff is like, I don't know, just like skinhead hardcore. And then the second riff is like more like Spy or something like that, I think. But it works well together and like kind of bouncing between those two. And then there's just some really cool sleazy rock and roll riffs. But it's recorded like it's grimy enough and dirty enough that it still comes off really punk. Union Hoax has like this really cool part where there's like these chokes and the vocals like hit on the chokes, where like stylistically, like if you're a vocalist, you can either like kind of fill the negative space in between chokes or like hit on them or hit between them. And with this one, they hit on them and it's a really cool part. Yeah, this demo rips. If you haven't heard it, like me up until last month, check it out because it's super cool.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said like it ruins it for me because like this is still great. And I think that's why I'm so offended by it is like, I think this could be like legitimately some of the best shit, period. Right? Like if it was just like very mediocre, I wouldn't care about the vocals, but because it's so good.
We're going to talk about another band later. I'm going to do a little spoiler here because, people will see it on the social before they listen to it. But like, imagine if the vocals sounded like the Shark Attack vocals do. Like that would be so sick.
Yeah, or any of our
clean.
Right, or any of our favorite Froy stuff. It's like if this just had a little cleaner vocals, it's like, dude, Syndrome 81 is coming across the pond. This is the band that I want to see open. But I want to know what this dude sounds like. I don't know because like it's like the whole cup and the mic effect, and it drives me crazy. Andy, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I thought it was rad. Again, yeah, I didn't hear it until Dan brought it up in the Super 7, but I kind of got some Suicide vibes, the demo. I don't know, maybe I'm tripping, but just like that punk rock and roll stuff. I'll keep it short. You guys hit on all the topics. I do think it's a rad demo, like in the sense of it's 4 songs. All the songs rip. The recording is kind of like muffled and like, like 80s sounding. And I think that song, the Man-Made Ultra, kind of showed like they got some range. And so I'm curious to see like where they'll go. And I like I said, I do think it's a rad demo in the sense that they made 4 songs that are awesome. And it's like, I'm super curious to see where they go next. And hopefully the recording's a little bit better. Yeah, the vocals, I'm with you. I wish I could hear the dude just going off and it wasn't distorted. But so as far as the demo goes, I think it's rad. And I think they definitely set themselves up to like where people are going to go like, oh yeah, I can't wait to hear what they do next. So I think it's great.
One thing, if I could add one thing, I think the recording, like a lot of bands of the more dangly earring variety, go for these lo-fi recordings that sound really dull, and as a result, it makes it sound less intense. Despite the distortion nitpick, like this demo doesn't sound dull. Like it does sound a little bit more lo-fi in that it's more dirty and grimy, but it's pretty present and cutting. So that's cool where, they went for that dirty sound, but it doesn't sound dull and boring. If that makes sense.
Hell yeah. Okay, let's go on to. You know what? We jumped to the comp, so let's go to the comp. We are going to talk the compilation that came out on Flat Spot Records on January 27th. It is called Extermination Volume 4. This thing has a lot of notable bands on it, and a lot of bands are bringing the heat. Dan, did you pluck off a couple of your favorite tracks?
Yeah. I like a lot of the stuff on this. There's some really good ones that I think my compadres will talk about. The Section Hate song is really good too. But my two faves off of this are the Speed song, which opens the comp, and then the Law of Power song that is on the other end of the comp. Both of these are really hard songs. The Speed song sounds like it could have easily been on the Speed LP. Like, it's giving you exactly what you want from Speed. Like, it, and they have this just the way the vocalist delivers the really abrupt style parts, like the like occasionally like through the things. It's such a great calling card for Speed. Like, it's absolutely really good that they have their own little thing within. Lots of bands nowadays could potentially blend into each other because lots of styles are very certain styles of hardcore are very like everyone wants to do them, especially because you get a ton of like participation from the crowd. If you're playing really hard music and stuff, like, you're gonna see people kill each other. What Speed does differently is just come at it in just their own unique way, and I'm here for it. Speed took me a little while to get into, like that. When we first passed around the LP, when it right when it came out, it didn't grab me at first, and it chipped away at me, and then I just fucking loved it. And then so I was, sunk my teeth into this new Speed jam that opens the LP. So look for that one. And then the Law of Power song, it's so good. It has like feedback, and then it just comes in with bass and drums together, but like in a not quite a Neanderthal beat, but just like a very straightforward, like slow, like ominous beat. And then the song kicks in. It's just really hard right out the gate. Like, I would say, like, if you took what 2022, like some of the hardest bands of 2022, but then filtered it through like Killing Time, it kind of gives you that. It's very straightforward, raucous, but then later on in the song, the drumming goes crazy on the breakdown. It's so good. And then the drummer like goes from that breakdown and then starts killing the tempo down, and it goes into like a bit more of a full on like beat down part. But it's just a minute 50 of just fucking killer hardcore. Like, I think a lot of people are going to really dig this track.
Yeah, I think the coolest part of this song is at the end, like, they do a really deliberate big sing along, which is awesome. It's cool. It's something that I think has been slipping out a little bit of hardcore, to have like a big sing along, like where we're repeating like the same line over and over. So it's like, it's one of those things where, when we would talk about like a band like No Reply, seeing them in like the late 90s, you almost never even needed to listen to the record. If you just went to shows and saw them all the time, you knew all the songs, and so it's pretty sick to have these parts in songs where if you're a dude that just goes to shows in LA and you see Law of Power, often throughout the year, like, you're going to know all these big parts, even if you don't like go home and listen to the records. I think it's sick. And then, Speed, they got the market cornered on that aggressive bounce. Them in Never Ending Game, like they knock that style out of the park. It is so good.
Yeah, but the way that Speed do the vocal, like, puts it into their own little chamber, like, that abruptness on the groovy parts, like I just think it's such a good like parody that just makes it so good.
Yeah, I mean, Jem is like one of the best talents in hardcore right now because he's a singer that has like so much swagger, and he's also writing all the songs. So he's like this one man powerhouse that's like being able to surround himself by a great band, of dudes that can like hold their own. But like as a writing force, like it's just one dude, and like kind of his vision is what I get of it. So it's awesome. I wanted to talk about the End It song on this. Again, like how Dan talked about the Speed song just being a song that's so good it could sit on their last record. This End It song is the same. It could have been on that last EP. From my guess of like when these came out, it might have even been the same session. But this song is so good. It's everything you want from End It, right? It's like a song that keeps you on your toes. It's a catchy vocal hook, and then something else that's awesome in the song. So like the way it starts out, the no one gives a motherfuck, so catchy, so good, so YOLO. I wish I could see all the lyrics. They're not on the Bandcamp. And we are recording this before this record comes out, so we don't have the lyrics or nothing yet. But also just want to note that the solo that the guitarist does on this track is so good, and it just really works, and it's probably the best End It like guitar part. So just a band I'm super excited about. They cannot miss, and it's just like another thing comes out. Oh, it's great also. What's up? I want a block of 10 songs. I don't know if we'll get it this year, but by 2024, I want at least 10 End It songs to come out in one block. Please. Andy, what did you pluck off this that you want to talk about?
Yeah, the End It song's dope for sure. I picked, I really like that, listening to the comp front to back, which I love comps, especially when they kind of mix up the sequencing with different types of bands. So, the first song that really hit me was the Jive Bomb, American Rule. It's just a short song, like minute and a half maybe. Don't need to go into too much detail. Just kind of starts off fast, goes into a fast two-step part, and they have like a long like ring out build up part, and then it bass and drums kick in, and the guitar is kind of ringing out over them, and then it goes into the mosh, and then I like it because the mosh is like pretty heavy and like makes me want to mosh, but it's not metal or beat down. So it's just the song was just like kind of in and out, and then at the end it goes back fast real quick with a little gnarly yell. And so there's nothing crazy about it that really stood out to me. Just the whole song in general just was like in and out, and really, I don't know. I liked where it sat in the comp. So that one, and then the other one I picked was the Mutual Assured Destruction Mad, which usually isn't a band that like I like that LP that came out, but I don't really go back to it. It's not really my style. But the song kind of sat in a cool spot towards the end of the record, and it just was kind of a unique song, different than all the others. The dude's voice is pretty cool. It's got a lot of tricks on it with the recording. You kind of get singy, like almost stripper metal, but like not too much for me, which maybe is too much for Zack, but like just enough to kind of like keep my attention and make me think it's awesome. Like I like that. So that part was cool. And then it's kind of like the little leads at the end reminded me of Integrity. And it's got a cool little like sing along at the end that I could see like live, a bunch of people like piling up and singing along too. So not really my style usually, but I thought that song really, for the comp wise, it stood out. Yeah, and like the art for the comp, I don't know, the song and the art really matched up to me. So those are the two that I picked. I liked a bunch of the songs, but those are the two that kind of listening front to back that really caught my attention. And I was like, oh, just where they sat in the comp and how it was sequenced. I really like that.
Yeah, that MAD song is really good. I didn't love the record just because, like you said, Andy, it's just a style that I don't love, like the stripper metal, like
Yeah,
heavy
it's
music with singing over it.
definitely not my
But
favorite, and I don't go back to it. But there's definitely cool parts on that too. But this song just really hit a cool spot with me.
yeah, and this song comes in and it's like it's really great, and even the singing part, like I don't know, maybe it just comes off a little more Paul Bearer on this to me on this song.
Yeah.
That more than Life Agony. I don't know. I really dig this and it sounds great. And yeah, you're right. After I think most of this stuff on this record is straightforward hardcore and it's good bands doing good songs. But after you listen to, 10 of those songs, this sounds a little different. So it does kind of like grab me. And it's cool. It's a good song. And the recording sounds amazing. And also
Yep.
shout out to Ace, the singer, does Form of Passion, a great podcast that everyone should check out if you listen to this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then it's kind of funny, like you liking that Jive Bomb song, but kind of having trouble like deciding what to sink your teeth into on that one. Like, it's just a great hardcore song, right? It's just like a straightforward hardcore song. Fast part, breakdown with a catchy riff, out. And it's like for a 90-second song, fuck, dude, that's what you want. Like they laid it down in 90 seconds, right? Like it's a sick hardcore song.
Yeah, it's not groundbreaking or anything. It just was like right up my alley.
Yeah, it's just a song that kicks ass. You got to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you pull off this this record?
Yeah, I really dug those two songs as well. Like the MAD song and the Jive Bomb song were two of my favorites actually on this. But this is just to back up for a second. Like this is a really good snapshot of like what's popping in hardcore right now. From stuff like the Chisel that leads a little bit more boot, stuff like Spy, which is a little more dangly earring. You got, Law of Power and Section Hate that are bringing a little bit more street. It's a good snapshot of like what's hot in hardcore right now across some different sounds. So first, I guess, just to back up, that's really cool. The two that I want to talk about, another cool thing about this comp is like there's a lot of fast hardcore on here. Like even some of the bands that aren't fast hardcore bands have fast parts, and that has me really pumped. Buggin', let's talk about that one. Fast hardcore, like the first 20 seconds of this is so ripping, and then it's like a 50-second song. So they go fast for 20 seconds, and then a breakdown for like 30 seconds, and then back to fast again for 20. Let's talk about that breakdown, because put this in the spreadsheet for the 2023 awards riff of the year category. This riff in the breakdown is so cool. It's simple, but it sounds so awesome with the harmonics between the choked hits. This band writes some really catchy and bouncy riffs. The recording is dope. It works for them. It doesn't lean too much into that lo-fi that I talked about earlier. It sounds nice and present. I haven't seen this band yet, but just by listening to, I bet they're a lot of fun live, and I hope to get to see them soon.
You know what I get from that, like that start of that bugging like breakdown part? I almost feel like doing like tiny little tiptoe steps into the pit, like it's like like it's tiptoe break,
like a cartoon criminal that's like tiptoeing into the
exactly.
Awesome.
Well, that drum fill going into it is like perfect too. Like it just kicks off like the riff. It seems very, I don't know, it's perfect. Like that's what you need when you're going into a breakdown, because the fast part is cool. It brings the heat, but it almost is like it's a setup for the back half of the song. Right. And it's sick. Like that's what I want too. Like I like a breakdown more than a mid-tempo song. And really, what's the difference? The only difference is that there's a fast part in front of a breakdown. That's what makes it a breakdown and not a mid-tempo song, right? So like I respect this style, and I don't want to say that the front half is like throwaway. It's not, but it is like a setup for the second half. Like this song would not be so epic if it just started on that drum fill into like a riff that might be one of the riffs of the year. You know, it's set up by like this fast part first, which is also like a mission statement, right? Like comp tracks are so important sometimes because if this is the first time that someone's listening to your band, you know, you want to show them like we're not just a mid-tempo band, like we know how to bring the heat, and they do. You know, like I don't know, this rips. The second half of the song is probably my favorite thing on the comp.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I love what you said about how, you know, it wouldn't be nearly as good without that fast stuff setting it up. I think that's well said, and I wholeheartedly agree.
What else do you got, Chris, on this?
Yeah, the other one I want to talk about, Choice to Make, which I think is the last track on the comp. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania / Scranton, Pennsylvania area band. I believe this is members of One Step Closer, Worn, and Strength for a Reason, which are 3 incredible bands in their own right. But yeah, more fast hardcore. You know, I love it. But it's hard too. Like, it doesn't sound like it, but it gives me vibes of like the No Warning demo and maybe the first 7-inch before they hit like full on Groove City with Ill Blood. Like a lot of fast and then some groovy stuff that isn't quite as blatantly groovy. It reminds me of something else too, but I can't quite pin it. Maybe like the Iceman or something like that. But yeah, it's a really cool song, super riffy. I dig it.
Yeah, it's like all the tempos they hit on it are aggressive. So it's like they're doing a fast part that's aggressive. Then it's like a 2-step part, but it's like a little bit faster, a little more aggressive. Then it's like a bounce part, a little faster, a little more aggressive. It's very interesting in that way. Like they're bringing it.
Yeah, there's definitely a busy right hand too. Not quite like Todd Jones level busyness, but even for like some of the groovier stuff, like there's a lot of like busy strumming.
Well, yeah. This comp is a banger, and we need those comp tracks, you know, for the year-end awards. Once again, it is Extermination Volume 4, Flat Spot Records. It just came out last Friday. Let's wrap this.
Great.
Artwork is great, correct. Okay, let's talk about. We got 2 more to go. They're both W's. What's up? Into the alphabet. We're going to talk the Wreckage R-Time 12-inch. It came out in January. The vinyl will ship in the springtime, and it is on a record label called Scheme Hardcore. So check that out, schemehardcore.com. Get this 12-inch. This thing blazes. I love it. It just bangs the whole way through. And the backbone is speed, but they branch off. They keep everything interesting. There's some really nifty guitar work on here. They tuck in a lot of YOLO, so you know, like that gets me where I love it. Like on that song Our Time, it goes that scissor beat. It is so epic. And yeah, the drumming is fabulous. Some of these songs just blaze and kick so much ass. And yeah, that's that. If I had to say one thing that I would improve is I would just these songs, if you had a great recording, it would be awesome. But this is a good recording. It's just not like that great 10 out of 10 level that a lot of bands are bringing in this modern era. And some of this riffing and this drumming, I just want it to be even more out front. And their next release might be like my album of the year. Like this is literally that good. I never even heard of them before. Chris shared this maybe a month ago, or a few weeks ago. And good God, man, it is so good. I hope they always keep it fast like this. And I hope they always keep like the songs short, you know, and then they can't miss, because like everything feels like it's 2 minutes and under, and they're coming in with a blazing part and then like an interesting part. And it's about as good as it gets for straightforward hardcore, in like my opinion. Chris, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I think first off, like I think this dropped on like the 2nd of the year. So like right at the top of the year, right? And I saw a couple people posting on social, and you know how it is. Like sometimes you see stuff and you don't have a chance to check it out right then, and then you see someone post something a little bit later, like a couple days later, and you're like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to check this out. And that was exactly how this was. I checked it out a couple days later, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. The bass player of this band actually booked a show for Change in Connecticut this summer, and is such a cool kid. And like we've kept in touch like since then, and we have lots of hardcore loving DMs about you know, like a lot of us on this podcast, he likes a lot of different styles of hardcore. So, you know, we're always talking about like mostly Connecticut hardcore bands. So like Follow Through or like Death Threat or, you know, whatever. A lot of the time it goes back to like he's in Connecticut and he's posting Connecticut stuff that I love and stuff like that. But I bring all this up because he also plays in Vomit Forth, which is another band that's really popping right now, but is not really like my favorite style of hardcore. So like I'm hyped for him that they're popping, but like when this dropped, I was super psyched because like this is my shit, right? Fast hardcore, like I saw an interview where they cited their influences and they talk about like Youth of Today, Turning Point, Cornerstone, which Connecticut band. But I definitely hear some Beyond in there. I hear some Super Touch, certainly some Outburst, you know, probably some like mid aughts B9 influence as well, particularly with like some of the distorted bass. But when the references to like Super Touch and Beyond, this recording, I actually really like it. You know, Zach, I know you said it wasn't bad, but I think it works really well for him, because it sounds big, and like a lot of bands that reference these same references, like their recordings don't sound as big, and so it doesn't sound as modern as this band does. Like you listen to this and it sounds like a modern hardcore band, like a band that, you know, fans of like Neverending Game or like Pain of Truth or like Restraining Order, you know, like that triangle, like kids could be into this and listen to it back to back with those. Whereas like a lot of bands that do point to these same influences, their recording's a lot cleaner and not as big, and it comes off a little bit Arrow worshipy. So yeah, this just sounds like a current hardcore band playing fast hardcore, and I don't know, I love it. There's one part, this may not be intentional, or it may be. Like I said, they're from Connecticut, but there's one part on the song "Days on Hold" where he kind of does like a little bit of a singy thing, and it gives me some Voice of Reason vibes, which I think is pretty cool, particularly for a band from that area. Yeah, I love it. I think, you know, we're so early on in the year, but like, you know, it's gonna take a lot of heat to knock this off of my like best of 2023 list, probably.
Hell yeah. And I gotta say, I love the cover too. Like I love something that's not like overthought, you know, and I like the teal, I like the orange. I like that it's a singer with his arm up. Like this stuff that some people consider generic is like my wheelhouse. Like if I'm flipping through records, like this is one that's going to catch my eye. And then I think about it in that scenario of like in the pre-streaming era where I'm in a record store, I'm flipping through shit. I see this. I'm like, welp, that looks pretty good. You know, and then you get home and it is good, you know, because like it's always like a 50-50 chance back in the day. And so like this is just a win in that aspect. Dan, what's your take on this?
I dig it a lot. I echo both of your sentiments quite a bit. I love the cover. I love the almost 90s graphic design of it, like early 90s graphic design, where it would be like a late 80s NYHC band doing their 1991 record. That's what it looks like to me in the best possible way. And I do love the picture. It's just a singer arm up, gritting teeth, like just bringing it. Long sleeve tee as well, which is a perfect hardcore staple. It sounds immense. There's so much aggression in the voice with the foot not being pushed all the way to the floor, which is arguably the best kind of hardcore singing, in my opinion. Just having somewhere to go on those parts where you got, but you're average, like you're at like 86 miles per hour the whole time. And you can go up to 100 from time to time, but just keeping it in that pocket, like that's what the vocals on this are. Really good. The music is awesome because it's like taking pieces of like old Connecticut hardcore, taking pieces of NYHC, taking pieces of Youth Crew, and like just kind of blending it all up. And I'm here for it. I really dug this. I can't wait to hear more from them. And I will be rocking this a lot more going forward. You know, I've only been with it a couple weeks and I play it a lot already. And so I can only imagine this sticking with me for quite some time.
Yeah, there's a little bit of savagery in here too. Like it's like there's a meanness and a hardness to it too. Like when we're talking about everything that it sounds like. It's not soft by any means. Like they bring the heat. Andy, what's your take on this?
Yeah, record's rad. I'm glad Chris brought up the Beyond thing because listening to it, I definitely got musically some Beyond vibes, which I love. You guys hit all the topics, little things I was going to hit. I do like the dude's vocals. He kind of does things a lot differently than I would do. And that sounds weird, but like just listening to it, it's really cool because he does places some vocals at different parts. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool and unique. And I like it. Again, you guys hit everything. I really like on that Days on Hold song where the singy like crew vocals. You guys knocked it out of the park. I love this record. My kids love it. So that says a lot. I will say this is nerdy, but I just watched their set, the FYA set they did. And like, it was so different from the other videos that we were sharing of some bands playing. It's because, man, everyone in the crowd, everyone's singing along, dancing, they're two-stepping, kids are smiling, no crowd killing. It was like, I want to be at that show up front, singing along, stage diving for this band. So like their vibe was cool. The kids that were going off for the band were like me 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, whatever it is. But I definitely hope to see this band, and yeah, record's rad.
Hell yeah. Someone sent me a color vinyl copy because I only got to order the black one because I was on the late train like usual. But yeah. Okay.
Me too.
Yeah.
Send me one too.
A round of color vinyl for the boys. I'm 185 miles south. What's up? But I did order it on black, and everyone needs to also. This thing rips. I mean, this legit might be my favorite record of the year. It's early, but it's like I can't pick a hole in this thing. I love it all the way through.
Dude, that first day that I finally checked it out, I listened to it like 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah. It's like it just brings the heat. It's so palatable. The songs are so short, but like they don't come off throwaway. You know, like you can get like a shitty fastcore 7-inch and like they have a bunch of short, fast songs on it, you know, but nothing stands out. There's nothing memorable. And like all these songs are like well thought out, good songs, but they just feel like they're all like sub 2 minute, if not sub 90 seconds. It's so good. Okay, let's wrap. Oh,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
I think that record's going to get better too when I get the vinyl and I read the lyrics. I feel like his dude's got some cool stuff to say from what I do catch. So I think that's going to make it even higher on the record of the year list. So.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I know. I can't wait to get that vinyl, drop that needle, and sit with my lyric sheet. Okay, let's wrap it up with the band Wise Up. They put out another EP called Baptism by Fire, came out in January 2023. Dan, you love this band. How do you feel like this release stacks up to the last one?
it's not quite eclipsed the last one for me yet, but I think that is just a personal preference type thing in the fact that the production level has been raised on this, and it just I don't know, I maybe like the gulliness of the first one. Maybe I've just sat with it longer. But this is really good. Don't get me wrong. And I know you're not a fan of, I think this is a lot more of the Cold World than just dropping a song in between two songs. This definitely has actual production done on the first and last track. The first track being the Re-Up, which is just awesome because, it's the second record, or it's the next record, so it's the Re-Up, and it has a really great soundscape that clicks through to one of my favorite Erasure songs sometimes, which I just loved that little thing in there. And then it blasts into Reaper Bust, just this epically hard song with a good bounce, good flow. What Wise Up do really well, and I feel maybe because Wise Up's from Newcastle and Last Wishes is from Leeds, not that far from each other in the general scheme of things. I feel like there's a little bit of like transference going on there a little bit because I feel Wise Up go a little bit more beat downy than they did on the record before, even though there was definitely some strong hard parts on that. But it gets to that really kind of chuggy parts that, beat down breakdowns are all about. And then there's two more songs, Killing Blow and Vow of Silence, and they're just, this band is really good. So for me to say, maybe I don't like it as much as the last one, that's just because I've been with the last one a lot more and liked it a lot over the length of 2022. So listening to this, I'm liking it a lot. Don't get me wrong. And I absolutely love the intro, and I love the outro, Prayers to the Tyne God, that's representing the northeast of England, Tyne Castle. Tyneside, not Tynecastle, that's in Scotland. And just, it's a well thought out EP, and I think it's going to just garner a lot more fans and a lot more people checking this out. It's really good, aggressive, bouncy, and occasionally chuggy and sludgy hardcore that it just gives you what you want. If you want something really aggressive and you want that feeling where, you want to smash that person who just cut you off on the freeway, this is one of those records to listen to.
Shout out to Dan for loving that drug reference on the first track, huh?
I'm a big fan of The Wire.
There you go. This band is it's really fun, and not in a way like it's silly or anything, but the way they're able to lean into some full like YOLO is what I love about them. But let me talk the first and last track. I think that the sampling like in that stuff is better on this than the last record, although last was good as well. But the best shit on here is when like kind of the songwriting just goes full juvenile. Like that guitar hook on Reaper Bust, like it literally sounds like something like a 13-year-old would play, and that might sound dismissive, but it's not. It's like that is what this song needed. Like, okay, you could have like a fine bounce tempo verse, but what would be sicker is if you had like a guitar doing like a one string lead over the top of it. Like they went there, and most people would, shy away from it and be like, I don't know if we should do that or not. But like they're down to go there because I think that a lot of people don't want to take risks because they're worried about, coming off corny or something like that. But like, there's nothing cornier than someone sitting there judging things for being corny. So like, just go there, lean into it the whole way. Like that little lead part, like turns it up to 11. And also like that opening mosh riff on Vow of Silence, same thing. It sounds like, a 13-year-old trying to write the hardest mosh part ever, and dude, that's the best shit, right? Like there's like, if you think about like the Venn diagram of like musicianship, right? It's like you have this fire in you when you're young, but you don't have the skills to know how to like harness, or you don't have the skills to play your shit well, right? And then you get older, you turn into a better musician and shit, but then you just start writing like bullshit songs because you don't have that fire of your youth anymore. And I think what this band does so well is they're able to like keep that youthful fire of like, let's just write stuff that sounds sick and not worry about people being like, oh dude, like, maybe you should have like used more minor chords or something, or like maybe you guys should grow up with your music. Like, I don't know. There's just so much youthful energy and so much YOLO that runs through this that makes them, they're just one of those bands like that. Anytime they put something out, I'm interested to like check out what they're doing because it's entertaining. And while I say it's fun, I'm not trying to make that dismissive, because you can tell from listening to this, they do put in a lot of work to this. So in my eyes, this is a notable band that everyone should check out. I think y'all would love it. And I want to see a Wise Up Pillars of Ivory tour run on the West Coast. What's up?
Yes.
Chris, what's your take on this?
Yeah, put it on the wish list.
Yep.
Yeah, I like this a lot. The funny story, first time I listened to this, I didn't realize my Spotify was on shuffle, so it played the first song and then it skipped to the last song. And I'm like, wait, is this band, are they just not doing hardcore anymore? Are they just like a hip hop mashups now? But then I realized I was on shuffle because it was the obviously the intro medley and the outro medley. But yeah, no, this is still that familiar formula from Up to No Good. I actually like it a little bit better. I don't know. It's cool. I mean, everyone's talked about this already, but like Reaper Bust, holy smokes, what a ripping song. And this is certainly one where they take a riff and they kind of take it on a journey. There's like it takes it from like a groove breakdown to like, actually, let me back up. I talked a little bit about what was this on the Lexan, about how they had the chokes with the vocals that hit like on the instrument part and then nothing between, like in the negative space. This song, the vocal cadence hits over, like fills the space in between and carries over between the hits and the negative space, and it sounds so sick. Like the part, I think he says something like demons that dragging me under, something like that. And then he takes that same vocal cadence over the next part, which is more of a groovy breakdown. And then that groovy kind of vibe busts into more chugs, and then the vocals get a little bit more punctuated, and then there's ring outs. And this is all, I think, a similar riff, like the same riff or a similar riff, just kind of done in different ways. And then over the ring outs, the vocals kind of pivot just a little bit again to more of like a hip hop flow. Like this song is just really cool. Like, I don't know, it goes a lot of places and it works really well. I don't know. I added it to my Crush All Weights playlist, so I'm going to put up some weight when this comes on.
Dude, the highest compliment.
It's not quite as igno as a lot of the stuff that I put on there, but it's a sick enough song that like it's going to get me pumped.
I love it. Andy, what's your take on this?
Yeah, this is awesome. The demo was awesome. You guys touched on everything I was going to do. I'm a sucker for the hip hop intro and outro. That stuff's cool. I like the Killing Blow song has like the double bass on the breakdown at the end. And normally I'm not a huge double bass guy, but I feel like that fit in really nice. And then the other thing I'll add is the dude's flow on the verses. For some reason, that's what caught me the most out of everything. Like overall, this is, yeah, like Zach said, it's super fun, like a fun listen. and it makes you want to see him live and be able to participate without getting a crowd killed. But I love the dude's flow on the verses. Like that's my favorite part of the whole of the demo and this. Like his flow over the verses is better than the sing-alongs, better than the mosh call-outs, everything. His flow over the verses I really like. So overall, it's a great release, and looking forward to more.
It's super sick. You know, I might even add Reaper Bust to my Crush All Cakes playlist.
Respect.
So
Hey. Oh, go ahead.
The intro on Reaper Bust is a guitar, not a bagpipe.
I think it's just like a high note he's doing on the guitar.
In my car, it sounds like the bagpipes. So that's what I'm going with. 'Cause I want it to be the bagpipes so bad.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It totally does sound like bagpipes. The first 2 times I listened to it, I was like, is there bagpipes on this song? And it's fucking sick.
I want it to be bagpipes so bad.
Well, shout out to the first track on Do or Die. All right.
Hell yeah. Face down in the gut. Yo, can we, before we move on from this, can we talk about the artwork for a second? And not only the artwork for this EP, but also like the demo and then the Up to No Good EP and then this artwork. They're all so drastically different, but I think they each work for them.
That's
like the first.
This was part of why I said I think they've been chilling with Last Wishes for this artwork. It's
for sure.
It's very
like
not coming. What's Rick's Life's label?
Back to basics.
Yeah, it's very back to basics.
Yeah, so the first demo is just a picture of some dude in like a Gore-Tex jacket with a hat on and some graffiti. Like it looks like it could be either hip hop or like, I don't know, Guns Up record.
He's puking as well.
Oh, is he? And then the second one, Up to No Good, the yellow one, looks like it could be like a spy or like, you know, a dangly earring style of thing. It's got some barbed wire and some handcuffs, but like done in a way that looks kind of, I don't know, punk, garage. And then this one, someone describe what's going on this record cover.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very like E-Town Fuck the World vibes. I don't know. Is it like
It's like some demon creature human
Tagger
holding.
Is it a piggy bank?
Breaking open a piggy bank, and out of the piggy bank is, I assume, members of the band cartoon characters because they have instruments. I think it's kind of hard to see.
Demons are being dropped.
Demon band members, and they're being dropped into the world, which is on fire.
It's ill.
well, hell yeah. Everyone check it out. Okay.
Side A versus Side B.
All right. We are doing a side A, side B on one of the best hardcore 7-inches of the early 2000s. You know, we're talking about the Shark Attack 7-inch Blood in the Water. And first things first, wanted to say there is a benefit show for Matt Summers. It is going down Saturday, February 4th at the Union Transfer. That's 1026 Spring Garden Street. Handle business. It is Cold World. It is Restraining Order, Chemical Fix, Floor Punch, a Shark Attack set with Dave Tear It Up on vocals, Raw Brigade, Violent Minds, plus Sunstroke and other bands. TBA. You can get tickets. I do not know if it's sold out or not yet, but utphilly.com. Handle business. Go to the show. Even if it's sold out, go hang out up front. Make a donation. It's for a good cause. Handle business. Side A, side B. Where are we at, Andy?
All right. I'll keep it quick. Shark Attack rules. Definitely my favorite bands from that era. Favorite bands of all time. Never got to see him yet, so hopefully Matt makes a full recovery and he plays some shows again. This record's awesome, front to back. I'm just going to jump right to it. I'm going with side B. On the Attack has that bass intro and that We're in Your Fucking Face. That's so ill. And then Misery Loves Company has that crew sing-along. Crew sing-alongs, like most of us on this pod, that's the favorite thing of hardcore to me. So that sing along just put over the top for me. I love the first songs on the other side. They got 3 of them, so that's pretty good. But the side B wins it for me.
Yeah, that's true. Side A has got 3 songs. Side B has got 2 songs. We got 1 vote for side B. Side A, though, dude, CCP is straight up sounds like Sick of It All, first 7-inch era. I love it. Blood in the Water is the hit song on the record, in my opinion. It's the shark attack, shark attack, shark attack, shark attack. So good. It's like one of those things that's so good. Like the first time I heard it, I laughed so hard because like it just hit me out of nowhere. Like when it goes to that fast chorus. But I've listened to the song so many times in my life, it is pathetic. Like I could have learned something scientific in the time I spent listening to this single track. Also, I love the Space Invader song, the 3rd track on this side, just because like the scissor beat is so unapologetic, right? Like sometimes bands, like when they're doing a cheat beat, like they're trying to hide it in the recording, or they're trying to keep the part like fast, like let's move past it, and get to like a slower part where the drummer can hang. But like this is just such an unapologetic scissor beat. They lean into it so hard. I love it. Andy nailed it on the tack song. This is a we're in your fucking face into the mosh part. One of the highlights of the record. And then the last song, Misery Loves Company. This is like a tribute to the entire Choke catalog. Last Right, Slapshot, Negative Effects. You know what's up. And Dan's favorite band, Stars and Stripes. Skinheads on the Rampage. I'm going side A because of Blood in the Water. So we're 1-1. Chris, what's your take?
All right, I don't know how well this is going to work, but that was me flipping a coin because, I mean, take your pick. This 7-inch is perfection, like a straight up American hardcore classic at this point. If for some reason you haven't heard this yet, but you like a band like Restraining Order, check this out because you will love this. Side A, there's three absolute scorchers, like a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. 3 songs in under 3 minutes, maybe under 2 minutes. You guys touched on this a little bit, but like there's so many like lines on this that are so catchy without it being like an overly generic hardcore trope style of thing. Like, why should I listen? I don't care what you say. Or the shark attack, shark attack, shark attack on the attack, which ironically is not from the song On the Attack. There's a real eyeball vibe there, but
yeah.
Side B, 2 songs, both barely over 1 minute, I think. Slowed down a tick once you get past like the initial like 40 seconds that are blazing through On the Attack, and then like a big stompy mosh part. Misery Loves Company. I mean, you guys touched on it. Could be a Slapshot song. Just as good as any Slapshot song, maybe. And then that sing along, you hate everything you see. You're your own worst enemy. Like that whole part is so catchy without it being like gang vocals. It's just an incredibly written song that's catchy. This is perfection. Let's see. I got tails when I flip, so I'm going to go side B.
All right. 2 for B, 1 for A. Dan, where are you at?
Side B, baby. All I have to say is, we're in your fucking face. That break into that part and then the mosh that comes after it, it's like Chris said, like Andy said, like you said, it's perfection. Chris saying this is a modern American, or not even modern because it's 20 years old now, an American hardcore classic is the truth. Like, shout out to Matt Summers, get well soon. I mean, he is getting well. If you've donated to his GoFundMe, there are updates from his sister, and he's consistently getting better. But I mean, I can only imagine what these hospital bills are going to be for, lengthy stays in the ICU. So everyone donate. Shout out to Matt Smith, one of our loyal listeners and awesome person to chat hardcore with. He is ripping the guitar on this 7-inch, and The Misery Loves Company, not only because of the incredible sing-along part that Chris was just referencing, but the lyrics in general. This is the perfect thing to say to those people that just want to be too cool or want to talk down honest, beautiful effort from hardcore bands and hardcore kids and stuff, and they want, you know, to see, oh, this was better, or this song just sums it up. You hate everything you see. Like, fuck off. We're here to be positive. Like, you can, you know, negative hardcore is fantastic, but it's actually doing something. Negative bitching within hardcore, get lost. So side B for me. On my original, I've got the My War pressing of this, and I swear On the Attack is very crackly at the beginning of it, because the amount of times I've just, at the end of that song, I just picked the needle up and needle dropped back to the start of the song, like, over and over again. And my bed down in San Diego at the time, like, definitely got some damage from many reasons. But from many stage dives and
wow,
forward rolls.
Hold on.
Stack of tuna cans, people.
Let's pump the brakes for a second there. I've been waiting for a second to say that I think we have the title of this podcast, which is "Fuck Off, We're Here to Be Positive." But then Dan just went up and one-upped it with whatever he just said about his bed. Like, maybe that needs to be the name of the episode.
Aye.
Well, anyway, this 7-inch is absolutely incredible. If people are listening right now and have never dipped their toes into this, you're so psyched, because this is going to be repeated like for the next 6 months. You're going to listen to this as well as lots of other things, but you're going to keep coming back to this.
I love that Dan started with, all I need to say is, we're in your fucking face. But I knew that wasn't all he's going to say.
Hey. Most verbose man on the pod.
Yeah, and apparently Casanova.
Well, I never kiss and tell.
The fight lasts for hours, each ram battering the other dozens of times.
Head to head.
All right, we are going head to head to early 1990s hardcore bangers. We are putting Four Walls Falling, the LP Culture Shock, Jade Tree 1991 against Endpoint, their LP In a Time of Hate. It came out on Conversion Records in 1990. And first off, before we dig into this, I want to say I know that both of these LPs matter a lot to people out there. The Four Walls Falling came in as a suggestion from multiple people. People love this band and this LP in particular. I had the second one, the Worms LP, and it never really grabbed me. And I was speaking to someone and I was like, well, maybe we'll do a head-to-head of the two LPs. And they're like, well, it's not even a matchup. You know, Culture Shock is so much better. And I'd never spent any time with this record. And digging into this Four Walls Falling record, I can see where if I would have gotten this LP early in like my hardcore journey, you know, if I got this in the first few years of me being into hardcore, I can totally picture this being like my favorite LP. Like, so respect to all the people out there that love it. There's so much to like bite your teeth into on this LP. And I'm going to try to give it like as much respect as I can. And also the Endpoint. I think that both these are really great for what they are. Diving right in to the Four Walls Falling LP, the biggest shock to me was just like how much like these songs haul ass. I never really heard this band mentioned like with the bands that went into the 90s still playing like fast hardcore. Like it's like a newer band, right? This is the first LP coming out in is their first LP coming out in 91. So it's not like they're like a 80s holdover, that's still playing fast hardcore in the 90s. It's like they're putting out this LP in the 90s and it's fast. That was shocking and good. Fast with good riffs, good singing, and yeah. But one of the things that kind of sets it apart from like what would be like that Youth Crew revival in the mid to late 90s is all these songs are pretty long. Again, it's just like there's a lot to sink your teeth into, and I think that in the 90s, when CDs start getting popular and people are buying music, like you want your piece of music to be like worth the money that people spend on it. So like the idea of brevity isn't really a thing until like this modern era. Like I feel like the last handful of years where like now I get kind of stoked when a band puts out like a 4-song LP, like it's pretty sick, but back here, like when you're spending your hard-earned money on a record, like you want a lot there. And there's like a lot to dive into here. And I don't have it, so I don't have the lyric sheet to dig in, but like this dude seems like he's very deliberate with his lyrics. Like you can tell by the samples that are on the record, like they're very serious. Like starting out your LP with like a Martin Luther King line is like, it brings a heavy vibe, right? And so they do this fast hardcore, but they also like lean into like the big sing-alongs like that I Will Try Again and Again, like that is like a build-up pile-on part in the beginning or at the end of the first song. And also like there's a lot of groove in this as well, like the second song, the Culture Shock, dun 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 dun, dun culture, dun shock. It's sick. This is not a knock. It sounds dated, right? But like we love music that sounds dated. Like if something sounds like it was recorded in 1982, I'm probably gonna love it. And like for people, this sounds like it came out in the early 90s. Yeah, it's awesome. And let me shoot it to someone before I talk about Endpoint because I'm going on a little too long. Dan, what's your take of these records and the head-to-head matchup?
It's a fair head-to-head matchup because both of these are very politically driven records, which at this time of music, the lyrics and to us, I would say to everybody who's talking on the pod today, lyrics have always mattered as much as the music. But to lots of other people, sometimes, the riffs are more important, sometimes the sentiment or the presentation, whatever. But in this time, like these ideas that are being brought forward, and especially by two bands that essentially are somewhat in the South, and singing anti-racist songs are, that is something that is just one of the true backbones of hardcore that we need to smash ignorance and need to find a better way in the world. And that's what hardcore consistently has searched for. And I think that these going up against each other are great. I love, like that you reference the culture shock, because it's so like, without sounding anything like hip hop, it's so hip hop influenced. That, kind of groove and even though it doesn't necessarily sound anything like rap at all, but you can hear it in it. I love the sampling throughout the Culture Shock LP. It's, a bit tropey, like a couple years on from this, but this was like really showing a clear line to outer hardcore world influences that are for someone to choose to write thoughtful lyrics and think about things almost on a existential basis of like, why do we do this? Like, why does man hate man? And that is also echoed on the Endpoint LP with songs against, sexual violence, songs against racism, songs against ignorance. They're both fantastic. I would say Four Walls Falling has a lot more of a kind of straightforward 90s hardcore sound that would, be akin to your Outspokens and your and things like that on the West Coast. Obviously these bands don't sound totally alike, but I'm saying that it's kind of like in the water, whereas the Endpoint sounds like a really I mean, you said this in the group chat, like a kind of noisy, chuggy Unity. This definitely sounds like a band that was definitely fans of West Coast hardcore 86 to 88, and then they're doing their own thing and bringing the new style into it. So it gets a lot more chuggy, it gets a lot more noisy, and the songs get longer, and the expression gets a lot more emotional. So it's like they're taking stuff from the DC stuff like Rites of Spring and Embrace, and then taking stuff like Uniform Choice and Unity, and then contemporary stuff that's a little bit more chuggy, and that's kind of the formula of Endpoint. The Culture Shock is recorded a lot better than the Endpoint, but I feel the Endpoint really has something. So, did you want me to pick which I go with at this point?
Sure.
I'm gonna lean slightly more towards the Endpoint, just because it's so gritty and then it does have those like Dubar-esque moments vocally, which I really latch onto. I would say if you'd asked me in 92, 93, when I was listening to both of these at the time, I would have probably gone Four Walls Falling, but I feel the Endpoint gives me a little bit more in 2023. That's, my take.
I think that Four Walls Falling has a pretty UC sounding song too. The last song on the record, the Back on Top.
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite song on the record as well. So it's sick when like the final track on an album is like your favorite.
Yeah, but in the 90s, the final tracks were always the big, like, bringing it to a close,
That's true. Crescendo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wild. So this Four Walls Falling is pretty spectacular, in my opinion. I had never really listened to it before, and it was shocking how good I thought it was. The Endpoint, on the other hand, I had it on cassette in my late teens, in the late 90s. And it was just in the era where, you're going to record stores, you buy anything that's like affordable and looks hardcore, So I'm like, so I like, I loved Ignite, Conversion Records. Boom, here's something on Conversion Records, right?
Yeah.
So I got this tape, and in my late teens when I'm loving everything, I play this and I didn't like it at all. So ever since then I kind of just blew it off as like a thin sounding band that like sounded weak, like compared to the stuff that I liked, and it's wild in this matchup. And we should shout out to Pops, because I shouted out to him, like, what should we put up against like the Four Walls Falling Culture Shock LP? And originally I had like that first Shelter LP like to put against it, and then Pop shamed me and he's like, that Shelter is actually a comp LP. And I was like, oh man, I pose on my Krishna hardcore. Fuck. But he suggested this Endpoint, and I think it's a great matchup. It's like the essence of both of these records seem the same. It's like they're both rooted in old school hardcore, but like there's a seriousness to them. And also like they're very close in the year, 91 and 1990. This Endpoint though, on like this listen, I was so surprised how much I loved it. It reminds me so much of like the Unity Euro 1/7" because it's just like it's so fast. It's like a scissor beat is like the main beat on the record, and they YOLO it like so hard. Just like they're bringing that fast hardcore. It's pretty insane. Like, I don't know. I love it. It's short, catchy. And it just really seems like they sat in a room and like listened to Unity You Are One and like Dag Nasty Can I Say. And that's like, and obviously there's some other stuff in here like Rebirth, I think sounds a lot like Minor Threat in My eyes. The song Face sounds a ton like Get Out by Madball, which is from the 7-inch that came out a year before this record. And there's a lot of catchiness too, like that song Model, the second song on the record, like the you talk a lot of shit, your life is such a lie. There's like catchy slow stuff, there's blazing fast stuff. It's wild. And if I was gonna like judge the bands, like I think that Four Walls Falling is a much better band. These LPs head to head, but it's hardcore, and I'm like chasing a vibe. And yeah, I'm going Endpoint in a Time of Hate by a hair, just because like there's so much YOLO on this, and I think it's because it's all they had to work with, right? Like this drummer is not good enough to do like he's not smelly, you know what I mean? So like this is the fast beat he can do,
He
but like
might
it's
be
just
smelly.
maybe there is there is just a charm to it, and I love that they're trying to blaze like that. So I'm going Endpoint by a hair, but both these LPs, I enjoyed them immensely on this listen. Chris, what's your take?
Yeah, Four Walls Falling. This CD was a CD that I was lucky enough to find, in the mid to late '90s, I guess. Somehow in Seattle, and I picked it up because I heard the name and fell in love with it. Like absolutely loved it. Over time, I distanced myself from it, not like purposely. It's just something I listened to less, and so. This was a fun opportunity to revisit it and see if it was as good as I remember or better or not as good. Which I'll get to in a second. The Endpoint, on the other hand, was a band that I've always heard about and meant to kind of check out, but I don't think I've ever actually listened to them before, which is weird because I liked By the Grace of God. I understand their importance to that area, the Kentucky, Louisville area. And so there's no reason for me not to seek this out, but sometimes there's so much good hardcore out there. And sometimes there's blind spots remain blind for a long time for whatever reason. So I guess the first thing I'll say is, I listened to this without any emotional attachment, and I really liked it. It's certainly, Zack said, dated. The phrase that I put maybe is a little bit less negative connotations, but like of the time, it's certainly of the time. Like, early '90s post youth crew vibes. Both of these records actually. And then Four Walls Falling. So my favorite song on this is Values and Instabilities. And it has always been the go-to for me. And in revisiting this record, I went in with the impression of like, okay, Four Walls Falling records probably like okay, but like Values and Stabilities is like a really good song. But as I re-listened to it, Values and Instabilities is an even better song than I remember it being. And, I remembered every word. And then what's more, like the rest of it was actually a lot better than I remember it being as well. I do agree with Zack, though, that like when you put them head to head against each other, like Four Walls Falling, maybe technically more proficient, but Endpoint certainly has like a spirit to it that makes it really good. So I think these two records, basically when I put them head to head, they're fairly evenly matched, I think. They're both, and this is going to sound negative, but it's not, like these are both kind of B tier, classic hardcore bands. And that's not to disparage them at all. Like, you're not going to put these up against Youth Today or Chain of Strength or Turning Point. At least I'm not going to, but that's okay. Like there's so few bands on that tier ever. And so, what we have here are two really good kind of next tier bands, in my opinion, with songs that kind of flex up and down in that B tier range. But like for me, Values and Instabilities is an A tier song. like firmly. Like you can put that song head to head with some of the all-time classics from some of those other bands that I mentioned. It may not win, but like it's not going to get smoked because it's that incredible of a song. The lyrics are the last thing I'll touch on, like specifically for that song. There's some killer lyrics in this song. Like pull up the lyrics, you can find them, Google them. They're really cool. Like there's some awesome lines. The breakdown part, the cadence of it is so cool. I think maybe Dan touched on this, but it's just kind of like a hip hop flow almost, like caring compassion, taking action, the ignorant cry self-righteousness. It's a social condition to believe we're never wrong. Like animal slaughter, U.S. war in Nicaragua, advocation of violence from a greedy mind, turned around in the head you think it's right, gives you a chance to lead your blissful life. Like there's a lot of stuff that it's touching on there that is so much more, in depth than, not that this is wrong, but like make a change, or break down the walls, or like, these are some of the greatest songs ever written, but like there's just an extra depth to some of these lyrics that make them pretty phenomenal. I'm going to go Four Walls Falling off of the strength of my favorite song on either of these two records.
Hell yeah. Andy, what's your take on this? Uh-oh.
Speechless.
We lost Andy.
Sorry. Here we go. Yeah, like Chris, I had the Four Walls Falling CD, probably a very distro. They had some good descriptions in there, that magazine. But I do remember having this probably in 1993, whatever it was when I first started getting into hardcore. And I do remember liking this. The dude's voice is cool. His delivery is cool. I really like the sound clips back then. I feel like Ben listened to this a lot because it's got some Fields of Fire kind of vibes to me. But and that Back on Top song is awesome. I feel like this is the better band out of the two. Just like dudes that maybe were in other bands before and kind of had a real formula for what they wanted to do and like a mission statement or like a direction they wanted to go. So a lot of the songs are kind of the same, not necessarily a cookie cutter, but like they're on the same path. Whereas Endpoint is a little more YOLO, just kind of all over the place. And I had never heard Endpoint before. I mean, I'm sure I heard them, but I don't remember hearing them until now. And I kind of just I like the dude's vocals. The recording's not as good as Endpoint's, but the vocals are all over the place. The song Rebirth has that kind of cool vocals where he starts off kind of singy, then he gets angry, and then he goes into his hardcore voice. He just does a lot of different things. On Way Back, they kind of have that synth part. I think it's a synth. I don't know. I'm not very smart when it comes to music, but I do like that. And he's got the YOLO kind of some talky parts, and then some they do some like little mosh calls on some of the before their breakdowns that I really liked for Endpoint. So just to keep it short, you guys covered everything pretty much. I'm going with Endpoint just because I think 1993, Andy would definitely say Four Walls Falling, just because of the songs and the really I was a fan of the the sound clips, but new Andy 2023, I like the just these kids that got into studio or maybe got in the practice space and just went for it. They weren't like worried about writing all the songs that sounded the same. They mixed it up and they kind of did their own thing. The vocals, he was all over the place. Both bands have great lyrics. But my vote goes for Endpoint.
Yeah, I think my favorite song on either record is that Fairweather song off the Endpoint LP. It just starts, that lead on the beginning sounds so early 80s SoCal, and then the vocals are just so Dubar. It's sick. But yeah, both these are great. Thank you to listeners for the suggestion, and I'm stoked. that we listen to both of these because I had never gotten into the Four Walls Falling before. Andy and Chris had mentioned they had never really gotten into the Endpoint before. So these are blind spots. You know, we all have them. And it's good when people say, this is notable music that you need to listen to and be aware of. So everyone, send us your suggestions. Let us know what we need to talk about. New, old, whatevs. We love it. Dan, final take on the episode.
Hardcore rules. It's great to talk it. It's great to listen to it. It's great to be a part of it. And hardcore is so much more than the music. It is this community. It is this mindset. It is these morals. So hardcore rules.
Yep. 2023. We need that Froy takeover of the United States, huh?
Sacre bleu.
That's right. Chris, final thoughts on the pod.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me talk hardcore with y'all. To anyone listening out there, please do not stab anyone at a hardcore show, even if they're crowd killing you. We do not condone stabbing actions.
I don't know about that.
If it goes on for another year, I might be on the fence on that, dude. It's pretty egregious. That's all I gotta say. Okay, but I appreciate you bailing me out. Of course, we do not want anyone to get stabbed.
You're like Chris Rock. I'm not saying they should have got stabbed, but I understand.
Andy, final thoughts on the pod.
Yeah, thanks for having me. 2023, crowd killing's out. Over My Dead Body and Control reunion shows are in.
Hell no. Everyone, thanks for listening. Much appreciated. Dan, where can the people find you?
At Southport Instagrammer on Instagram.
Chris, where can people find you?
Chris Williams, 51. That's CH Chris. At Instagram and Twitter and or NWHC Radio on both.
Shout out to your podcast. Yeah, shout out to the podcast. Everyone, check out Northwest Hardcore Radio. Chris is laying down the best punk and hardcore tracks in the entire history of the Northwest. So handle business. Check that out. Andy, where can the people find you?
You can hit me up at illexcommunication on Instagram, and that's it.
And tell the people where to pre-order that Ill Communication LP if they haven't already.
Yeah, be on the lookout. Doomsday Brigade, our full length's coming out February 20th, street date. Vinyls on Safe Inside Records, CDs and tapes on Heroes and Martyrs. Hit it up.
And Andy, if you ever play and Bert's in the room, be sure to shout out to Bert, or he might whoop you.
We're gonna do a Built to Last cover, and he's gonna have to sing it.
Oh, respect. I love that. Everyone, get at me. 185 miles south at gmail.com is the best way. I respond to everyone. You can also hit us up on the socials, 185 miles south on Instagram and Twitter. The DMs get a little weirder, so email is the best. Also, my personal, Zack Retaliate on Instagram. And Retaliate is the best on Instagram. Everyone, we love you all. We'll talk to you again next week on Patreon.